Live from the KHOU 11 studios and streaming on KHOU 11 Plus, your news starts now.
And we have breaking news now at 10 tonight. Boxing legend George Foreman has died. His family sharing the news on Instagram late tonight, saying he was surrounded by family today as he passed away peacefully.
They say their hearts are broken, remembering him as a humanitarian, Olympian, and two-time heavyweight champion of the world. Foreman was a proud Houstonian who was often seen at events around town.
Let's bring in our Jason Bristol now, who was just at an event with Foreman a few months ago. Jason.
And family meant everything to George Foreman. I saw him last December at a celebration for the Rumble in the Jungle, the 50th anniversary. It was an event held in Edo. Both the families of George Foreman and Muhammad Ali were there to celebrate, recognize, and honor one of the greatest spectacles in the history of sports. At that time, George looking nothing like the George Foreman that we all know, and the George Foreman who became so famous, not just as a boxer, but also as a pitchman. The George Foreman grill, of course. In his prime, George was 6'3", 220 pounds, a rock, and one of the most devastating punchers the world has ever seen. His family naturally making him as comfortable as possible during that event while also guarding his privacy. George Foreman, again, was so much more than just a boxer. George Foreman was a family man. George Foreman was a comedian in many ways and aspects. And of course, George Foreman was also a businessman. That epic fight, the Rumble in the Jungle, George Foreman incidentally lost that fight to the great Muhammad Ali. But George Foreman, a member of so many athletic halls of fame, including the Houston Sports Hall of Fame, George Foreman was one of a kind, and we will likely never see another fighter, man, ambassador to the sport like George Foreman was. Back live here in Wichita, where we are covering the Houston Cougars and their quest for a national championship. George Foreman, I remember that celebration of the Rumble in the Jungle. One of the questions we asked of George behind closed doors, if you will, after the celebration had ended, about what he takes the most pride in as he looks back at his career. And without a pause, he said his family. Family meant everything to George Foreman, and certainly we know they are grieving tonight. That is the story here in Wichita as we remember George Foreman. Jason Bristol, KHOU 11 News. Yeah, people around the world mourning his death, but of course here in the Houston area, as he was local, would see him out and about. Jason Bristol, thank you so much. As you can expect, tributes are starting to pour in for George Foreman. Mike Tyson posting on X tonight this tribute to him. If we take a closer look now, talking about the boxing legend, George Foreman dead at 76, saying condolences to George Foreman's family. His contribution to boxing and beyond will never be forgotten.
Governor Greg Abbott also posting tonight saying, quote, "A legend lost, rest in peace, George Foreman." Of course, we're going to stay up to the minute on covering this huge loss for the city of Houston. We'll continue to monitor reaction coming into this momentous loss for our city and the country. Folks are continuing to share their condolences and memories on our KHOU 11 Facebook post. Now, to read more about Foreman's legacy and his proud Houston roots, head to our Facebook page. We'll also have more on TV after the March Madness games.
In the meantime, it's 10:04, and if you're just joining us, good evening. Thank you. This is our special streaming edition of KHOU 11 News at 10. While the March Madness games are on TV, I'm Rekha Mudaraj.
And I'm Marcelino Benito. Tonight we begin with a devastating story happening in the Katy area, a McDonald's shooting that happened a few days ago. A grandfather killed in a devastating crossfire between two groups of young people.
Yes, it's 61-year-old Jorge Abreza, and he was buying Happy Meals for his grandkids when that shooting happened last weekend. Our Matt Doherty is covering this story for us. We're hearing now from Abreza's son, and this comes now as one of the suspects in this case has been arrested.
Yeah, plywood still covers the broken windows of the McDonald's you see behind me, where on Sunday a man stood outside and opened fire. Inside was a grandfather buying food for his family when he was killed. The man...
Never think that it's going to hit you. You never think it's going to happen to you.
Jorge Abreza is still trying to comprehend what happened on Sunday afternoon. His life was changed forever the moment he got the call from his mom, who was waiting in the car with her two grandkids in a McDonald's parking lot.
She tells me, your dad is inside, there was gunfire, he hasn't come out. The kids are here, they're crying, they're in the car.
Jorge's 61-year-old father, also named Jorge, had walked into the McDonald's to order Happy Meals for his 4- and 6-year-old grandkids because the drive-through line was too long. While he waited inside, a white vehicle pulled up outside of the restaurant, and a man got out with a gun and started shooting through the windows.
And she says, I called him, he answered, and he told me that he was dying, that he was going to die. And that phone call was 26 seconds, and that's the last time that she ever spoke to him or heard his voice in life.
Jorge Abreza was taken by life flight to the medical center, where he died hours later. The suspect, who's been identified as 24-year-old Antoine Ridge, was on bond the day of the shooting for allegedly threatening his ex-girlfriend with a gun. His bond conditions included GPS monitoring, and he wasn't allowed to use or possess firearms.
On a Sunday afternoon.
On a Sunday afternoon, pure recklessness, not even just self-centered, right? Not thinking about anybody but themselves.
Ridge did not appear in court for his probable cause hearing. His bond has been set at $1 million. What started as a beautiful Sunday afternoon with the grandkids turned into a tragedy that has changed the lives of a family forever. A wife who'd been married for 39 years will spend her 40th anniversary without her husband. The grandchildren, who played with their toti in the front yard among the azaleas he planted years before, will never get to see him again. In Katy, I'm Matt Doherty, KHOU 11 News.
Thanks so much. New at 10, a teenage girl is dead after an argument with a boy leads to a shooting in Baytown tonight. Police tell us the two teens had gotten into a fight earlier today. Then around 4 o'clock this afternoon, while the girl was hanging out at an apartment complex playground on Village Lane, the boy allegedly walked up to her and started shooting. She died at the hospital. That teen boy is now in custody.
And new tonight, a man is under arrest in Montgomery County, charged with sexual assault of a child, and investigators want to know if he has other possible victims. Take a look at your screen. 52-year-old Isidro Andrade Ramos was arrested on Tuesday, but the sheriff's office says during their investigation they learned he used to volunteer at St. Mary's Catholic Church in Cleveland as the children's choir instructor. They're asking parents to ask their kids if they've had any inappropriate contact with Ramos, and if so, to give the sheriff's office a call. Ramos being held on a $75,000 bond.
Tonight, residents are telling us random gunfire is getting out of control in their own neighborhood. In fact, just as a KHOU 11 news crew was out there about to report on this earlier today, they heard some gunshots just as they were about to go live. Take a look. Now, we want to emphasize reporter Jason Miles and photographer Mars Juarez were okay and immediately got out of there. Neighbors along Presswood Drive exclusively sharing that surveillance video along with others to KHOU 11 tonight, showing vehicles going down the street and people opening fire. Residents telling us there have been at least 7 similar incidents in just the last 3 weeks.
What's your advice to people who may know who these folks are?
Call the police. Call 911 and report it. They have a case open for it, so hopefully they can do something.
Residents say they are sharing the video and important details like vehicle tag numbers with police. Charges could run from discharge of a firearm to more serious things if someone were to get hurt or killed.
At noon tonight, a grandfather and a tire shop owner who got swept up during immigration raids in the Colony Ridge subdivision last month is now back home with his family after being able to post bond tonight.
Yeah, Maria Aguilera was there when Eric Payan Ibarra got home tonight and joins us live with North Harris County with more on that emotional reunion and how that family's feeling. Maria.
Yeah, Reka Marcelino, tonight inside their home, you could feel the emotion of a family torn apart as they were anxiously awaiting his return. Now, he and his wife have been here in the U.S. for 21 years. And now that he's been released, his attorney tells me she is fighting to secure his legal status. A heartfelt reunion for the first time in almost a month. Alejandrina finally able to embrace her husband, Eric Payan, who was being held at an immigration detention facility. He was among more than 100 others arrested on February 24 during an ICE operation in Colony Ridge. ICE agents showed up to Payan's tire shop and took him into an ICE detention facility in Montgomery County, where he had been until today. Payan is the sole breadwinner of his family. He owns a tire shop and has no criminal record. He tells me he felt helpless.
Me siento mal, porque no me agarraron en ningún lado más que en mi trabajo.
He was granted a bond.
Silvia Mintz, an immigration attorney, took on his case for free after learning what happened.
Mr. Payan is not a criminal. And most of the people who were detained on Colony Ridge don't have any criminal record.
His release comes after she put a bond package together, and a judge granted him a $5,000 bond, which he had to pay in full. The community pitched in. His attorney says the immigration case continues and that he has avenues to fix his legal status. I asked him how he feels knowing that.
¿Y ahora cómo se siente que su abogada Silvia le está dando oportunidades que quizás va a poder arreglarle su estatus legal?
Pues me siento muy bien y yo quiero que ella continúe con mi proceso.
Today, back with his family, he gets to celebrate his daughter's birthday with those he loves most.
Me siento bien contento. Yo pensé que no iba a estar el cumpleaños de ella.
A memory they'll hold on to forever. Yeah, his attorney tells me she is working on a cancellation of removal to stop the deportation. And because of his no criminal record, because of his ties to the community, and because of his good moral character, he will likely be able to stay and fix his legal status. Maria Aguilera, KHOU 11 News. Back to you.
So much unnecessary confusion for that family. Maria, thank you.
In San Jacinto County tonight, people are back in their homes as fire crews get the upper hand in fighting a wildfire. The Pauline Road fire has been burning since Wednesday in an area west of FM 1725 in the Sam Houston National Park. The Texas A&M Forestry Service says the fire has burned just over 2,400 acres, but it is now 75% contained. Most of the damage was to trees and grass, but one home and 2 other structures were destroyed. The fire started as an approved prescribed burn that might have gotten out of control during windy conditions.
All right, if you've been sneezing, coughing, rubbing those itchy eyes, all of the above, there's Kleenex all over the studio. You are not alone. Kim Castro is here. Let's talk about the pollen count. It is extraordinarily high.
Extreme, in fact. And it's the oak pollen again for today. And for your weekend, it's going to stay in that elevated category at least through your Sunday. Right now, oak, pine, and hackberry are in that very high column. Moderate amounts of grasses and weeds, and at least low mold spores. Tonight is going to be mild. Otherwise, if you are suffering with the allergies, maybe you close the window, and you might have to turn up the AC just a little bit if your house is a little bit more insulated, because it's warmer tonight. 59 degrees downtown, Hunters Creek 57. That's going to be as cool as you get tonight. 55 in Tomball. If you're waking up in Conroe, you will be in the low 50s. A little bit more cloud cover. That's why it's not as chilly. Tomorrow afternoon, though, will be beautiful at the Rodeo. It's the last weekend. Bless you, Ranka. I just heard her sneeze. 77 degrees at noon. By 5 o'clock, 80 degrees with a little bit of wind. The wind is going to increase throughout the afternoon and into the evening. So another one of those days, maybe you wear that hat that fits a little bit more snug so it's not rolling around. It's going to be really busy tomorrow. All right, gusts at around 20 miles an hour by 3 and potentially up to 25 by 7 o'clock in the evening. Notice the breeze, though, is coming in out of the south. This is a Gulf breeze that's going to hike up the moisture, make it a little bit more humid on your Saturday, and eventually the added moisture brings us a rain chance. You don't have to worry about showers tomorrow, but there is a chance for them on your Sunday, 30%. Monday, the 40% chance for shower activity is going to happen early on in the morning for your commute. The threat on Sunday does bring us some severe components. So we could see an isolated hailstorm, maybe an isolated storm with some gusty wind too. But notice we're on the lowest threat. It's a 1 on the 1 to 5 scale, and it's only for a few of us. So Walker County, San Jacinto, Polk, and a really small portion of Grimes County. The rest of the threat pushes towards the northeast. That's where there's an elevated risk. So we're sunny today. We'll see a little bit more cloud cover tomorrow. Eventually, we'll see some showers early on Sunday. They'll be pretty light, and then the front moves in during the overnight hours, still timing out to around 7 o'clock when we could see the heavier shower activity. Here's a closer look at the rain potential on Future Track. Nothing for your Saturday. Sunday, a couple of spotty sprinkles throughout the early part of the day. Keep that in mind if you're going to brunch or church services. You might want to carry the umbrella with you. And then notice by early Monday, there's a little bit more shower activity, but you know, the cap is going to be pretty strong here in Houston. We're going to have this warm layer right above us, and that might stunt the potential of thunderstorms to grow. However, we hold on to the chance of some of those right when you're heading into work, so between 7 to 9 a.m. So just keep up with the forecast. We'll have more updates throughout the weekend as we get closer to the time frame. The models tend to pick up the environmental factors and the atmospheric conditions a little bit better. Okay, so for now, look at the temperatures. We're going to be warming up, mid-60s for a low on Sunday, low 80s, and then by next week, we're looking at lows that barely fall below 70 degrees and those high temperatures, warm and muggy, guys. Spring in Houston feels a lot like summer and for the majority of the country.
Oh man. All right, Kim, thank you so much. Tonight, Texas Southern University, TSU, showing off with a special rodeo-themed celebration. Of course, they are tonight, they are celebrating a lot of things. First of all, the Ocean of Souls Super Bowl performance with Beyonce. Maybe you saw that. To Women's History Month, and of course, Black rodeo culture.
Our Amanda Henderson was there to experience the Texas Southern Hold'em event.
It's been nearly 3 months since Texas Southern University's band was showcased worldwide.
I think it was the best Christmas gift ever.
It's hard to beat performing with Beyonce on Christmas Day at a Houston Texans game.
What opportunities has this performance opened up, not just for Texas Southern University, but for Ocean of Soul?
Our Ocean of Soul has received several opportunities to connect and engage with our community and our world.
Texas Southern University's historic Ocean of Soul band was put on a worldwide stage when performing with Beyonce last Christmas. Now they say doors have opened for the university and band, who we got a chance to listen to right inside these doors.
Tonight, students packed TSU's Hold'em event, celebrating the band's accomplishment and Black rodeo culture, a cornerstone of Beyonce's iconic halftime performance.
I just know that if I was in a performance, I would start crying because I love Beyonce.
I realized things were really growing as far as our representation within the rodeo community.
We also got our first glimpse at behind-the-scenes footage of the band, learning they would be performing with the most awarded artist in Grammy's history.
They've been in a situation now. Beyonce is totally different. The air changes in the room when she walks in.
Assistant band director Trenton Hunter says reliving the moments leading up to the performance has left him beyond proud.
It's just an exciting time, us getting to celebrate our students.
Reporting in Houston, I'm Amanda Henderson, KHOU 11 News.
Mila Pennington of Raymondville, Texas, 5-year-old Mila coming your way.
Mila wants to be a farmer, and she's an awesome button buster. Wow, what a way to end it. This is going to be a tough one. It's such an awesome
Look at her go. That's the latest winner of one of the most popular events at the rodeo. It's my favorite. Mila Pennington of Raymondville, Texas, holding on to that sheep the longest tonight to take home tonight's mutton bustin' title. And get this, she says she didn't even practice for the event. All of that is just natural.
Of course it is. And country fans, welcome Parker McCollum back to the rotating stage tonight. This is the third time the Condor native has performed at the Houston Rodeo. Now, here's the entertainer lineup for the final weekend of the rodeo, just a couple days left. Brooks and Dunn perform tomorrow, and Luke Bryan will wrap up the rodeo on Sunday night. Just a few days left. It went by quick, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us on KHOU 11 Plus while the March Madness games are on TV. Of course, we're going to continue to get reaction tonight on the death of boxing legend George Foreman. He's passed away earlier tonight, surrounded by his family at the age of 78.
And of course, we'll have much more when we are back on TV as soon as those games are over. Scheduled to be at 11 o'clock at the earliest. We'll see you then.